Before we get into this episode, make sure you like, share, rate us 5 stars. Check out some previous episodes. Just do whatever you can to support. Honestly, it means the world. I've seen a few of you guys sharing us on your story and it helps out so much. We've got a fantastic episode today. I can't wait to get into it. Let's go. You beauty. Welcome, everyone, to the Sunday Run podcast. Got a very exciting episode today. Bloody housemate's in.
Yeah.
Bottom of the barrel.
I know.
Steve.
Got the call up last minute.
Got the call up. How are you, mate?
Yeah, pretty good. How you been?
Going well. I'm excited for today's podcast. I was scratching my head with kind of guess, yeah? I was like, okay, I could get this person, could get that. But I was like, you know what? I've had a lot of requests for people who are starting out in running, people who are starting out in the gym. And whilst that was all us once upon a time, that was certainly you.
More recently, for sure.
Yeah, a little bit more, not so recently, but like flipped your whole life on the head almost and like got fit, got really healthy, seemed pretty happy.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, so I wanted to talk about that today, but we've got a little bit to get through first. I thought like to start with, we'd do a little bit of an intro to you.
Okay, so my name's Stephen. Been living in the house now for 1 month with Lewis, which
Yep.
has been an interesting experience, to say the least. Got the ups and downs for sure. I guess, how long have we known each other for?
I don't know, so we went to school together.
Yeah, year 6, which works out to be 2010, I believe.
You bullied me.
I did. You deserved it, would you believe
Yeah.
it? So Lewis, once upon a time, was much smaller and probably twice as loud. So it's a recipe for disaster.
Steve, you can't say that, mate.
But no, we're doing it right now. We came back from it.
We
went
came
our
back.
way.
Yeah, so we went, so school, you were always really smart.
Mm-hmm. So are you.
Yeah.
Sure.
Struggled a little bit more, I did, but good at school. Came out of school, you went straight to uni.
I did. Went to Melbourne Uni, studied finance and marketing.
Completed it.
Completed it. It took a while, but we
Congratulations.
got there eventually.
Yep.
I think as everyone did.
And now you work in consulting or something?
Consulting at Deloitte, which is an interesting experience, I'd say.
Yeah.
Really enjoy the people I work with. The content's all right sometimes,
Yep.
but huge learning experience for sure. You develop some skills. I don't know. It's a bit of a slug sometimes, but not too bad.
Yeah, I couldn't think of anything worse, but you do manage to stay very fit and healthy whilst having like a pretty full-on job, which we'll get into in a little bit. Were you always into sport?
I grew up. I did a lot of running when I was younger, sort of burnt out on that when I turned 13, 14, just got a bit much. But then came back around to it more recently. I used to love soccer, especially growing up, but I'd say now less so playing, more advocate for watching, especially like NBA, AFL, stuff like that.
So you said you were into running when you were young, but you were like actually very good at running because you're perfect size. Like you were really tall, really skinny.
So I kind of hit puberty a bit younger than most. I think I was 11 or 12, lost my voice.
Yeah, 3.
I used to do a lot of medium to longer distance sort of running. So 400 meters to 800 meters was my perfect range, but it wasn't, I didn't love it at the time.
You hated it. You had some pretty like...
I did hate it. Hated's a good word. Yeah, I was going to say it outright, but I hated it.
Yeah.
I think the breaking point for me was I blacked out at one point when I was running, a bit sick, broke my wrist, and then sort of just said sod it and threw it out.
Do you remember because I remember trying to get you into running, a year or so ago, roughly, and like you being like really anti-running, like hating it. Do you reckon you started with that like negative connotation because of like your...
Oh, 100%. Like everything comes back to experience at the end of the day. You think about what you've done in the past, how your relationship with it used to be, especially. When I think of running, I think of training 4 nights a week, or I did at the time anyway. Training 4 nights a week, having mates on Saturdays, it was just a lot. And I think I definitely associated that with, we were just going for like casual runs during COVID. Like, it was chill, but
Yeah.
it's a bit of a jumping point for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's interesting to say. I feel like that's everyone. I was the exact same with like footy running and stuff. A few more questions for the intro here, then we'll properly get into it. What's it like living with Tom and I?
I reckon we start with Tom, because that's probably the big question mark at the moment. Everyone kind of knows how he is. If I was to say like a positive and a negative for each, the negative is the positive for Tom, I think. It's his energy 100%. He doesn't shut off any time of the day. First thing he says when he wakes up is LFG. First thing he says when he goes to bed is LFG.
Yeah.
You can hear it from any corner of the house. He's going all day, every day. He doesn't stop. But at the same time, it's kind of infectious. Like, it's hard not to be happy when you're around Tom. You're my best mate. We've been best mates for a while.
Yeah.
It's nice to just be able to like have you there, hang out, talk to you about things. Like, we sort of meal prep together. We watch movies together. Kind of like having a girlfriend. I don't know.
I'm actually his missus.
Yeah.
Steve was at work the other day and I was cooking him food before he came home. Made sure I didn't burn the roast.
It's not.
Otherwise, who knows what's going to happen.
Sometimes we're feeling a bit sad. We cuddle up in bed together, have a nice chat, pat each other on the head.
We've actually got each other. It's
Yeah.
really nice. No, it's great. Well, you moved in on like a little bit abruptly. Some crazy shit happened and then next minute Steve's in the house.
Kind of came from nowhere, didn't it? Hey?
Yeah. So, I mean, silver lining, baby. That was awesome. We're travelling together soon.
Yeah, Korea.
Yeah.
How goes that?
South Korea, for those wondering. We just booked everything last night.
Yeah, so we booked flights in about February and we booked accommodation one night ago, which puts us about 2 weeks out.
2 weeks out.
Leave it to the last minute and do it well.
Yeah,
That's the motto.
I'm looking forward to it. It should be fun. I'm keen for like the fitness side. What are you most excited for?
It's weird. We were talking about this on the way over here, but most people don't associate going overseas with still working out and sort of running or hitting the gym, but that's probably one of the things we're most keen for together, I think. Like sort of running around, exploring Korea. It'll be a new place. We've never even...
I think it's like pretty like in the last 5 years, it's really picked up a fair bit.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, it will be interesting. No, I can't wait for that. And I suppose that's that side of like making it an addiction. I want to get into you like starting out fitness. Let's start with fitness. So like obviously running came like a fair bit later, but I remember it like a fair while ago. Obviously, it was Gab and I working out, and then like we got you involved as well. Took a little bit to get you involved, but once we got you, we got you. What was like, I suppose, the catalyst behind you getting into fitness? And just briefly talk us through like who you were before you started lifting weights, like how you were.
Yeah, so talking about how I was before I started lifting weights, I was definitely a lot more unhealthy. I'd also say a lot more unhappy, generally speaking. Especially during COVID, we all sort of fell into the same slump. It was difficult to exercise. Everyone was just sitting around, like play video games all day, study when we felt like it, sort of thing. But then you and Gab were definitely the catalyst for me, for sure. I remember you guys just dragging me out. You would sort of call me and say, we're going to the gym. And I'd say, like, no, sod off, like not doing that. But you'd be like, no, you're coming. Like you'd show up to my house and just drag me there.
Yeah.
Biggest thing I can sort of recommend to anyone is pay it forward 100%. So like if you're that person already, take someone under your wing, do it with them. And if you're looking for someone to do it with you, like find a friend. The easiest way to do it, hold each other accountable. And then from there, you can sort of grow. There's lots of benefits to working out too, for sure.
Yeah.
Like you will feel so much better for you. You'll feel mentally stronger.
Yeah.
You feel more confident.
I remember you getting like real like into it. You know, you can tell someone's getting into it and they're like researching it at home and like, looking. Because once you start seeing gains and start seeing progress, then it's like, all right, now you're set.
It's addictive. Like once you do it, it's addictive. Once you get that first compliment, it's addictive.
Yeah.
Like you start seeking out that validation from anyone and everyone. And then it sort of becomes a part of your personality, a part of your everyday today. Like, we work out, or we've started grind season, what we call it in the house right now.
Grind
So
season.
2 sessions a day, every day is what we aim for. So that usually will be 1 gym session, 1 run, a huge walk, like any of those 3 generally. But I'd say it just becomes a part of your routine. Like we feel kind of, between the two of us, we probably feel pretty shit if we don't do it.
What do you reckon your why was when you first started? Like even just after we started dragging you out like into the gym. I mean, I suppose like that validation side's handy.
A little bit. I think everyone has to sort of find their own reason. It's different for everyone. For me, the validation was huge. It was also taking a bit more accountability for my own life. Just being able to, like my mental at that stage probably wasn't fantastic. And running and exercising, well, gym especially, was probably one of the first times I started noticing it get exponentially better quickly. So I say I sort of latched onto that and then used that as a way of making myself feel better. I don't know, that was my why, I think, more or less.
Yeah. What about like for people starting out, you know, getting through that scary feeling of going to the gym? I remember you and I went to Zap Fitness once in Elsterwick there, and just like we both hadn't started working out, and like, bro, looking around, it's like this is fucking terrifying. I'm scared of everyone here, and like we didn't have a plan or anything. Like, what's your like tips for people who are getting into the gym for the first time to feel comfortable and like it's like they should be part of it?
It is the gym, the first time you go, for boys and girls especially, I'd say as well, is so intimidating. You're walking in, especially nowadays, there's so many blokes that are 4 times bigger than you can ever dream to be. It's
on all sorts of compounds as well.
Yeah, they like the secret sauce a little bit too much sometimes, I'd say. But don't get sucked into that as well, for sure. I just say find, like online, there's so much information circulating now. You've got people like yourself talking about running. You've got people talking about gym, lifting content. Find a program is probably the easiest thing I'd say. They'll keep you on a solid pathway, I think. They'll sort of split you across 5 or 6 days, give you every exercise you need. They'll teach you how to do them as well, because that's probably the biggest thing, is you don't want to look like an idiot the first time you go into the gym trying to lift weights because you feel like you're doing it wrong. Also understand that everyone started where you are right now. No one started off lifting 100 kilos at bench press. Like everyone started off trying to figure out how to lift the bar. You kind of work your way up from there. Don't compare yourself to other people.
What was your like gym split when you first started out? You used like training what we were doing, wasn't it?
Yeah, so upper lower is huge. Upper lower is probably one of the better ones to do. Either that or push pull legs.
So like an upper lower split is like one day you're doing upper,
Yep.
next day you're doing lower, next day you're doing upper, next day you're doing lower.
So I definitely recommend that. Also push pull is what we're probably doing at the moment the most, push pull legs. I feel like that gives us a bit more variety. It also a bit more enjoyable. At the end of the day, leg days suck.
Yeah.
Like we don't want to do leg day that much, and we don't do leg day that much if you can't tell already.
No, we're not doing leg day. God, no. Yeah.
I'd say that's probably my recommendation. Just look up like people like Jeff Nippard. He was probably our first go-to.
Yeah, remember we got on that
goat.
program and it just like launched us.
Yeah, it did.
What's been like your hardest part to fitness? Is it the commitment? Obviously, like diet's quite difficult. I mean, what's been the most difficult part for you?
The commitment in the start was hard. COVID made it impossible, but just you have to understand everyone has the same amount of hours in the day. So if you can't find time to go to the gym, it's not always just because you're busy. It's because you're not prioritizing your time enough. So I'd say that's the first thing you sort of need to figure out is how do you fit it into your day. But diet for sure, mate. We struggle with our diet today. Like last night, you and me, we saw a packet of grain waves on the bench. We tucked into it together, especially me. Like
Impossible, yeah.
It's impossible not to. So just hold yourself accountable with stuff like that too. Like if you know you can't stop yourself from eating junk food, don't buy it.
Well, that's what I've found like with moving out of home. So if I ever go up to the farm, mum and dad have got like, you know, blocks of chocolates sitting in the top of the fridge, like chips. And they're like disciplined enough to just have like one square of chocolate and then just, you know, sit in front of the fire and watch some TV and a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Not happening for me.
Not neither of us, unfortunately.
No, I'm working through that whole block of chocolate.
Whether it's that or beers or anything else, we tend to finish what we've got in front of us.
I'm going to drink or eat whatever's in front of me. So like knowing that, it's like, okay, I just cannot have it in the house.
Yeah.
Like what's burning a hole in my brain at the moment is Tom, he's bought this huge jar of Nutella, yeah? And then he's just jetted off to Europe and left the jar of Nutella in our house. And it's like, I'm thinking about that all day. And I want it.
It's hard, and you probably will tuck into it at some point. But just also don't feel too guilty when you do it. Like you do the right thing 100 times. Otherwise, you just need to.
What about like the body dysmorphic side of it? Have you? I mean, like I know you've experienced it. Like so have I, and I think it's really common. But like that feeling, because so for those listening, like Steve from before he started lifting to like your body shape now. Yeah, you were tubby custard, as you like to say. and we loved him for it. He gave good cuddles. Great for cuddling. So did you, like, have you found, I mean, obviously, like, you should be stoked with yourself and, like, where your body is, but is there always things you're trying to improve on? And have you noticed that to be a theme?
In terms of just diet or in terms of?
Well, just in terms of body dysmorphia. Like, have you noticed that from a mental perspective?
Oh, 100%. But I think it's important to keep your goals realistic as well. So understand that it sort of is the type of thing where your ideal body type right now is probably what you are currently, or what 2 years ago would be what you are currently. Now it's probably something else. But also don't take it too far. Like it's good to give you a little bit of additional drive, make you feel better about yourself. Kind of, it is important to have a goal, but at the same time, I think that some people get too caught up in their image sometimes.
And you can see that's why, especially for young men, like that thing of steroids comes in.
I think people undervalue or underrate how much it affects young men as well. Young men, especially growing up now, you've got the Instagramification of all of these kids taking SARMs and steroids and everything else, and it's sort of popularized, especially my gym I went to before, fantastic gym, loved it, but you could see the kids 18, 19 coming in, lifting 120 kilos within 2 weeks or like 2 months. And they love the instant gratification of that. But at the same time, you got to think more about the long-term consequences on your body.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that was the obvious side, wasn't it, to that gym particularly.
Yeah.
But then it's also like the accessibility. And I mean, I've done a little bit on it through social media about like the steroid side. Obviously, like I've never taken them. I never would. But like there's certainly some not younger years, but like maybe 20 through to 22, where it's like, I don't feel big enough. I feel like a man, but I don't feel like I'm like big enough to almost. So it's like, how can I do that? Well, it's steroids. And luckily my parents have implemented like the right lessons and, you know, the right amount of confidence in me to be able to get through that. But I mean, if you don't have that confidence, then
It's so difficult.
I mean, no wonder you just go online and buy some. Like, oh, far out, it'd be close. But yeah, I don't know. The body dysmorphic side's it's a big one.
It's huge. It's difficult not to get sort of caught up in that world as well.
And it's not a reason to not do it either. What if you could give yourself one piece of advice to when you first started training? What would it be?
The biggest thing for me is getting started, and we've spoken about this at length multiple times, but I think you have to understand the best time to start anything is always yesterday. So it's easy to push things out and say, like, I'm going to start running on Monday next week, or I'm going to hit the gym next week or whatever. But if you keep doing that, you're just never going to get anything done. And you sort of do have to force yourself. You have to understand it's going to be difficult. Unfortunately, most things that are worthwhile doing aren't necessarily easy. So it's really important just to try and push yourself past that hump. Again, look for a support network if you can. Talk to your friends, talk to people, even people at the gym. Honestly, the gym is, we said it was intimidating. It is also full of some of the nicest people you ever met. You can walk up to most people, ask them for advice. The staff at your gym, whether it's just the biggest dude there lifting 140 kilos, I guarantee if you walked up to him and said, hey mate, can you show me how to lift on the bench press? He would be more than happy to show you how to do it. And it's sort of take advantage of your network, whatever you can do.
It's actually a really good point. I always forgot about that. Like the actual social side of a gym can be fantastic.
Sure,
like that's huge.
Yeah.
G'day there. Sorry to interrupt this episode. I've got a few sponsors I want to talk about. Now, they are new on the podcast and we absolutely love the support. All the support from you guys. We couldn't have had this without you guys. So thank you for listening. Thanks for tuning in and thanks for sitting through this next couple of minutes. Firstly, Brooks. You guys know I love Brooks. I've been with Brooks for a while now and they've come on board with the podcast. So that's elite. I've been running relentlessly in my new Ghost 14s. They actually sent me out the new Gore-Tex, the new Gore-Tex Ghost 14s, and they are elite. Essentially means you can run in the rain, your feet don't get wet. And in Melbourne at the moment, it is constantly wet. So been running in those. Honestly, go check out the whole Brooks range. I talk really highly of them a lot, but I don't think you guys realize like how good these shoes are, especially in terms of being able to just put the shoes on and go for a run and not have constant blisters. Like Brooks are notoriously elite for that. And I almost guarantee that they are going to be perfect for your feet. So go check out the Brooks range. And thanks so much for supporting me. Thanks so much for listening to this podcast. And thank you so much for like buying the products that I promote because it really does help. Next up, before you speak. Now, I lost my coffee machine. I had a really good coffee machine. It was in my house. I woke up one morning, oh my gosh, it's gone. That's okay though, because Before You Speak came in clutch. They said, Louis, we're going to help you out. We're going to sort you out. And we're going to send you some Before You Speak coffee. It's essentially... I don't want to like do them, like I want to do them justice by saying like it's not like instant coffee, but it's as easy as instant coffee, tastes like real coffee. I think that's a better way to say it. But they come in sachets, you pour them in, they've got like all these benefits like collagen in them, plus all this other stuff. Bit of hot water, I do a dash of milk, and that's literally your coffee for the day. So I've been pumping Before You Speak coffee. And I'd really highly recommend checking them out as well. Just give them a go at least. And I feel like if you give them a go, they're going to be part of your routine in no time. Back to the episode. Right, this is a running podcast, so let's get into the running side of it. So obviously you were a really good runner when you were younger, fell away from it, and then kind of picked it up in the last, year or so?
Say last year or so, yeah. So how it originally started up again was you, me, and our other mate, Jesse.
Yep.
We sort of have a group chat, the three of us. And then I think you probably messaged in saying, hey boys, I started running 2 weeks ago, keen to get you involved. And then Jesse, being the go-getter that he is, said, absolutely, let's do it.
I'm in.
And then I think I took another week or two of you really pushing the message, letting me know that I didn't do it.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, basically. You've been like,
it's not a choice.
8 o'clock in the morning, meet me at Elwood, we're going for a huge run.
Yeah.
But it's difficult. I remember the first couple of times I did it, I'd stick with you boys for the first K. And being a better runner in the past, I sort of expected just to stick with you the whole way. After that first K, I was cooked. I couldn't run anymore. And then you and Jesse would sort of take off into the distance and I'd just watch you go. But you really just have to, again, force yourself through that. Running is the most humbling thing you can do. Like, it'll let you know when you've had a bad weekend, when you've been drinking too much, like not exercising enough.
Yeah, and you did a half marathon recently. So for context, like he's genuinely built up his fitness to a very impressive amount. So you did the Great Ocean Road half marathon. What was your training like for that?
So the general split I tried to follow was one short run a week, which was usually a bit quicker. Then I'd do one set of interval training, which would say you do something like a 6x800 at a relatively quick pace. And then the third run would be something a bit longer, so usually over 10 Ks. I'd say if you can run, so if you're aiming to run 21 Ks, you should obviously ramp up, but by last month before, you should be able to run like 25 Ks a week. So that's not saying you run 25 Ks in one run, by the way. Like you run 25 Ks a week, and then your body should be pretty well accustomed to the distance. You should be fine. But I'd say that, yeah, you just want to, it's really about ramping up slowly too, because actually that was the biggest issue I had was we did that one big run where I ran 20 Ks about a month before. I just cooked my foot. Like I couldn't move for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So really make sure you do it gradually. Don't rush into it. Like everyone thinks they can run 20 Ks or you don't, but like some people do. Just make sure you train properly and then you'll be fine. Like it's not the be all end all. It's pretty easy.
What have you noticed, like, the difference in when you were, like, unfit, you know, unhealthy even, to what you are now, which is, like, very fit, very healthy, and generally in a good routine? Like, what are the biggest differences you can tell?
So self-esteem, huge. You feel so much better about yourself. Like, easily, you look at yourself in the mirror, you feel a lot better. Like, the compliments thing, just even talking to other people. It's such a weird thing, but, like, as your self-esteem improves, I'd say there's a high correlation with the confidence and everything else as well. You find it easier to communicate with people. Just like more fun, really.
Yeah. Even talking to girls, like nights out and stuff.
Yeah, girls is a huge one.
Yeah, well, like it's such a big driver, isn't it?
Yeah, for
As
sure.
it should be.
Like, girls, yeah, how do you even...
We just go up and talk to them. Like, yeah, I feel like it's, even if you're not like talking to a girl on a night out to try and kiss her or anything, it's just like, just having that conversation, you might not have had that like when you're unhealthy and unfit and not feeling so confident in yourself.
I think that's the same for everyone. Like even compare yourself in your pre-puberty versus now. Like it's so much different. Yeah.
Do you talk to girls, mate?
Never.
I haven't spoken to anyone, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know. Well, it's interesting. What's your fitness schedule looking like currently?
So like we were saying before, we try and train twice a day if we can. Usually that involves one run, one gym, one walk. So I'd say we usually start off with, we do what, probably 2 or 3 runs a week.
Yep.
Then we'll hit gym 5-6 times a week. And then we usually do a walk every other day, like every day just about. So it's pretty full on, to be honest.
It is. But we're very close as well. So and we live together. So
yeah, that makes it way easier.
We literally do everything together for those ones. If you ever see me out doing something, Steve's probably on my left.
And it's hard not to be accountable as well when I'm rolling into Lewis's room and saying we're going for a walk. He'd be like, no, I'd be like, no, we're going for a walk. Yeah. And that's it. That's all it takes. You're gonna
do it. We also just set a bunch of new house rules.
Yep.
There's some good rules on there.
Some good ones and some bad ones.
Some ones we can't talk about on the podcast because we get
they're not too
cancelled.
offensive, but they're just not for
I don't know, you just
human
don't.
consumption, I think.
Yeah, just like the PC brigade, we'd be in strife. But they've been handy. Now, we've got a really great Q&A.
Cool.
So we had a few questions come in. And thank you guys for sending them in. If you have any questions, make sure you send them in to me next time before the next episode so you have a chance. Louise, I think, Louise. What's the best and worst thing about living with Lewis and Tom? You've kind of already said it, but...
Yeah, for Tom, it's definitely the energy thing. Like we said, he is so loud. I've never met someone so loud in my life, and he doesn't turn it off. Like, people might think it's a facade or it's a personality or a character he plays. For better or worse,
yeah,
he's like that all the time. Like, I reckon if he has 99 days on, he has 1 day off.
Yep.
And for you, it's amazing living with my best mate. You're cooking. Sometimes needs some work. Unfortunately, we're working through it as hard as we can, but it's difficult. Like even last night, we had to have a conversation because you made us a tikka masala, and for some reason you thought putting 3 capsicums in it was a good idea.
Mate, I'm trying to...
We're trying to fill out low calories, more ingredients, but 3 is excessive. There was that classic story before you went on holiday last year for that month.
Yeah.
Where I was taking over your house for sublet in your room. You left me a bunch of pasta, which I thought was really generous, and I found out you put 4 onions in it.
In each container.
So that's another one we need to figure out.
Explosive. All right, next question from Joe Goes. Have there been any surprising flow-on effects in other areas of your life thanks to running?
Ooh.
Flow-on effects.
I reckon motivation's a huge one. I think you'd agree with that as well. There's something about those endorphins you get from running that just make you want to do more things. Like once you do it, you kind of feel like you've seized the day.
Yeah, I think definitely that. A huge one and like a barometer for how you're feeling is just libido, I find.
Yeah.
Like if your sex drive is through the roof, then you feel incredible.
Yeah.
And I mean, running gives that, like a little bit of running's good. I think once you start getting over like 50 Ks a week, your libido starts going down. But like training in the gym and stuff, increasing libido.
Well, that's the other thing with just being fit and healthy as well.
Yeah.
And eating well. So.
Mate, fuck getting old and losing weight. Honestly, that's scary. What flipped the switch? Trying to get my boyfriend intrinsically motivated. It's a really good question.
I think that last bit's important. It has to be intrinsically motivated. So it has to kind of come from him a little bit. You can't force someone to do something they don't want to do. So it has to be a realization for him. But I'd say it was definitely watching the people around me. Like watching you really get into it, watching how it changed your life, watching Jesse, even our other friends that exercise pretty frequently. I'd say look at it as a means to improve your life, but also don't hold yourself accountable, but understand that it's a hobby. It's something you do in your spare time. So it's not like you have to be really strict on it. Like enjoy it, I think.
Yeah.
It's the biggest thing. But understand it's going to suck at the start.
I feel like I spoke about this in a couple of weeks ago on a podcast, like firstly trying to sell someone the dream. Like we probably did that for you, you know, like, oh dude, you're going to like feel so happy with yourself, like filling out a t-shirt, like you're going to talk to girls. Like that's one side of it. Might be hard if that's your boyfriend, don't say that. But the second thing is like getting them addicted to it. So like all we needed to do was get you to come to the gym like for 2 months, give you a few huge compliments and then stand back, like you're good to go.
Yeah, it is for sure. Once you get addicted to it as well, it becomes such an ingrained part of your life every single day where when you don't do it, it feels like you're missing something. And it's important. It sounds unhealthy when we describe it like that, but trust me, you'll never regret it. No one regrets working out and exercising.
No,
so.
Of course not. Right, this one's from Cara Jansen X. Do you find it challenging to run with someone who is faster / more trained than you? It's a good question.
For sure. At the start especially, that was probably one of the biggest obstacles that I had to sort of get past. Like I was saying, I thought I would just float in with you and Jesse and just be able to run with you boys, but definitely not the case. I'd say don't compare yourself too much to other people. Understand that while it is nice to run with other people, you might not be able to do that straight away. You need to build up to it, and they've built up to it already. So they've already got that sort of goodwill, whereas you don't. So it's pretty important to develop that on your own. I'd say try not to think about it too much. But
you know, it's also like use it to aid yourself. Like if I go on like we've been doing a lot of running together recently, and it's like those runs are really like fun and enjoyable. Like I really look forward to them. You're like going at a good pace as well. So it's like everyone's a winner out of it, you know.
Such a huge motivator seeing someone like you were definitely the benchmark for me in terms of being able to go for a run with you. It was a huge one. So you need to build up to that. Like I started off as probably running 6-minute Ks. And then now we're running 5-minute Ks, having a chat, like enjoying it together.
Yeah, that's everything.
Just understand it's not overnight though.
This one from Jasper_Harris, mate, gotta be asked, what you looking for in a girl? Respectfully, of course. I don't know why I kept that in, but we've asked it now, big fella. What are you looking for in a girl, Steve?
Personality, I reckon.
Good,
For sure. That's it.
Just personality.
I'd say someone that's kind is huge and it's very underrated. Someone that's kind to the people around them and that listens. Like, I think it's pretty common for people, and it's not something I've really thought about until recently. But a lot of people, when you're having a conversation with them, they don't necessarily listen to what you're saying and they won't remember things. I think that's very attractive. Other than that...
Just get your mic closer to your mouth.
Yeah, other than that, I don't know. What do you think?
Mate, I was actually talking about this with my physio this morning. Like energy, and it doesn't, like it sounds a bit woo-woo, but I'm so attracted to someone who has good energy. Like it can be positive or not like sarcastic, but just like genuinely good energy is so attractive.
Someone that can make you laugh as well and that also laughs at themselves. That's a big thing. I find it so difficult to be around someone that holds himself in a really high regard and can't make jokes about themselves or jokes at their own expense.
Yeah.
I think that's very attractive
Nothing
too.
worse. That was a good question, actually. Thanks for that one. What's your favourite? This is from TJS LaRoche or something. What's your favourite young lean song, Lammy? I know I saw you at the concert.
I do remember this actually. That was a great night. Do you know anything about Young Lean or no?
Young lean. What's the song?
There's a couple, like Ginseng Strip's probably one.
Yeah, how's it go?
It's like,
yeah, I know that one. Yeah.
Say Kyoto or Violence are probably my two favorites. But yeah, so Young Lean popularized a lot of the sort of sounds that people like Travis Scott and stuff use now. So I don't know if he's your type of music per se.
No, definitely not. Prefer
but that was a
country.
sick concert. I loved that. That was it.
Yeah, interesting. Look at you. Were you in the mosh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Last question from Blake Ryan. What's the biggest challenge you've faced with starting running? It's a great question as well. Good job.
I'd say definitely the expectations you put on yourself. Like running is one of the easiest and the hardest things you can do at the same time. It sucks. It's hard on your body. It is difficult, but it's also so accessible. Just getting out there and getting miles on your legs alone will probably make you feel a lot better. But in terms of the biggest challenges, it's definitely that first hurdle where you sort of start off. The first run you go on, you're going to sort of look at yourself in the mirror and say, why the hell did I just do that?
Yeah.
And every single person has that conversation with themselves. You have to understand that. It's not enjoyable. But then it's just, as you go on, you start seeing more and more progress, sort of latch onto that and find something you enjoy out of that experience. I think it's important to have a goal as well. So the half marathon for me was a huge one. Even I was running pretty casually before that, and if anything, I'd probably started to slow down a little bit in my routine. But having that half marathon coming up at Great Ocean Road was huge because it just keeps you motivated. You have to do it. Like once you tell someone you're running a marathon, you have to run.
Yeah, you got to do it. Unfortunately,
like there's no getting out of it.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, I recommend. Like Melbourne Marathon's coming up, Sydney Marathon, anything you can think of. If you want to do a half, do 10Ks, like sort of customize it to what you think you can do in your goals. But definitely pick something you can latch on to and work towards, and that'll help you a lot in the long run.
Yeah, so true. I think that first run as well, we were talking about it in the car on the way here, it's like, you're going to realise a lot of stuff. Like you actually can't just sit at work or sit at home all day smoking a vape, like drinking as many beers as you want. Like you realise pretty quick that like, wow, I've actually let myself go a little bit here. Yeah. And that first run's going to be hard, but it's going to be worth it.
It'll be hard. You'll feel every puff of that vape in the first run 100%. Every beer you chose to have on that Saturday, Sunday night, you will know straight away. But also moderation's important. You can still do those things.
We're not
going to tell anyone you can't do that stuff. Just understand the effect it's going to have on you when you do it.
Yeah.
So
we should do another podcast about going out, Steve. What we know about running, triple it about going out and having fun. That's for sure.
We actually know about that. So,
we actually know a fair bit about that. Maybe we'll do a podcast from Korea after a couple of beers.
Couple of beers,
yeah.
In some dive bar somewhere, hole in the wall.
Yeah.
I'd be sitting on the beach actually, and I can't even remember the name of the place anymore. I'd hate to pronounce it.
Busan.
Busan, yeah.
Yeah.
I was familiar,
the area.
No,
yeah. Maybe we won't do that, but anyway, we've got some nice accommodation, and I'm really looking forward to it, mate.
Sick.
Great work. Thank you to everyone for listening. Steve, thanks for coming on. I'm sure we'll have you on again, doing some special comments and a bit of fun with the running stuff. Got some big podcasts coming up. Thank you so much for listening. Keep going. I love you. Bye.